My dear students, today we will discuss a very beautiful poem, that is A Thing of Beauty, written by John Keats. Let's learn something about the poet. John Keats was one of the famous romantic poets of English literature, although his poems were not generally well received by the critics during his lifetime. His reputation grew after his death, and by the end of the 19th century, he had become one of the most beloved of all English poets. In his short lifespan, he proved himself to be very influential. Now, we will learn something about the background of the poem. This poem is an excerpt from Keats' poem Endymion, a poetic romance. The poem is based on a Greek legend in which Endymion, a beautiful young shepherd and poet who lived on Mount Latmos, had a vision of Cynthia, the moon goddess. The enchanted youth resolved to seek her out and so wandered away through the forest and down under the sea. Now we will go straightly into the poem, A Thing of Beauty. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases. It will never pass into nothingness, but will keep a bower quiet for us, and a sleep full of sweet dreams, and health and quiet breathing. So, with the very first line, the poet is clear with his message that a thing of beauty is a joy forever. A thing of beauty means a beautiful thing. It is a constant source of joy, nor does its beauty decrease. Its loveliness goes on increasing every moment. Its value remains undiminished. It never passes into nothingness. Nothingness means valueless. It never becomes valueless. But all the beautiful things will keep our bower quiet for us. Normally what happens is that when we are exhausted, what we want is a shed under which we can rest. So a thing of beauty, a beautiful thing, can make a shady shelter for us and a sleep full of sweet dreams. Normally what happens when we are unhappy, we cannot have a peaceful sleep. But when we see beautiful things all around, what happens is that we have a beautiful sleep. Beautiful sleep means a sleep full of sweet dreams. If we experience beautiful things, if we see beautiful things, then we have a good health and we can breathe quietly. So I have noted down the meaning of the word bower. Bower means a pleasant place in the shade under trees. Therefore, on every morrow are we wreathing a flowery band to bind us to the earth. Spite of despondence, of the inhuman dirt, of noble natures, of the gloomy days, of all the unhealthy and over-darkened ways. So every morrow means every tomorrow, every next day. What we do is that we try to bind us to nature. Why? Because earth itself is beautiful. In spite of despondence, because of we the human beings, we have become very materialistic. Because of our action, because of our materialistic inclinations, materialistic wishes, we have made our lives horrible. We are very sad because of our inclinations. We are very depressed. So, in spite of despondence, of the inhuman dirt, of noble nature, we are very unlikely to see noble nature in the human beings. So, in the gloomy days of all the unhealthy ways, over-darkened ways, so unhealthy, over-darkened ways, all these words, why the poet has used all these words? To see how unhappy we the human beings are. So, in spite of troubles and suffering human beings, love life. So I have just note down some of the meanings of the words, like morrow. Morrow means tomorrow. Wreath, an arrangement of flowers and leaves, especially in the shape of a circle. Despondence, low spirits from loss of hope. Made for our searching, yes. In spite of all, some shape of beauty moves away the pall from our dark spirits, such the sun, the moon, trees old and young, sprouting a shady boon. So again, the poet has here also the poet has mentioned about our dark spirits, about our dark soul. Why our souls have become dark? Because we are negative. We are very negative. But amidst all this negativity, we have hope, we have positivity. Why? Because in spite of trouble and suffering, human beings love life because of these beautiful things of nature. All these beautiful things of nature move away the gloom from our depressed minds, depressed souls. So poet has mentioned some of the beautiful things like the sun, the moon. The sun, the moon give us light. Trees, old and young trees, make the world green. All these are like a shady boon. All these like a bliss to us. For simple shape and such are daffodils, with a green world they live in, and clear rills that for themselves a cooling covert make against the hot season. The mid forest brake, rich with a sprinkling of fair musk rose blooms. So here poet has also mentioned some of the beautiful things like simple sheep. Sheep is an animal. It is very lively. And daffodils, very beautiful flower. And all these things of nature makes our human, all these beautiful things of nature make our minds beautiful. So here poet has mentioned about clear rills. The rill is very clear. The water of the rill is very clear. And what do the clear rill do is that clear rills make a cooling covert for themselves. In hot season, we sweat. We need to cool down. So when we go near the clear rill, we feel very cool, calm amidst the hot season. Here, that is why poet mentioned about clear rill. Poet has mentioned some other beautiful things like mid-forest brake, rose that blooms. I have again note down some of the words, some of the meaning of the words like against. Against means against. Sprinkling. Sprinkling means a small, thinly distributed amount of something. And such too is the grandeur of the dooms. We've imagined for the mighty dead all lovely tales that we have heard or read. An endless fountain of immortal drink pouring onto us from the heavens' brink. And such too is the grandeur of the dooms. So here the poet has mentioned about death. Death cannot be very happy. That is all the time associated with sorrows or sadness. So the poet has mentioned that death can be impressive. How? Because some of the people, they had sacrificed their lives for the betterment of humanity. So they have, with their works, they have made their death very impressive. So that is why the poet has mentioned that as grandeur. But if the common people, we have come to the earth and one day we will go from the earth without doing anything remarkable, then definitely our death will not be mighty. If our death has to be mighty, then we have to do certain things for the betterment, for the development of humanity. So we cannot be mighty, our debt cannot be mighty. Those people who have sacrificed their lives for the betterment of humanity, their debt can be impressive, their debt can be mighty, their debt can be beautiful. All the lovely tales that we have heard or read, all the beautiful things that we have heard from our grandmothers or someone else, all these beautiful things can be beautiful. All these tales can be beautiful. So here the poet has mentioned that these are endless fountain. Again, the poet has come to the end with his special message that a thing of beauty can be eternal, can be perpetual. So endless, here the poet has mentioned the word endless. Endless fountain of immortal drink. Why the poet has used the word immortal? Before he had mentioned the word death, and here he has mentioned the word immortal. In stark contrast. Why? Because all these beautiful things of nature are immortal, because they can never pass into nothingness. They are eternal. And when we are experiencing all these beautiful things of nature, all these beautiful things of nature are treats to our eyes. And when we see all these beautiful things, then we feel as if all these beautiful things are a fountain that had been poured on us from the heaven's brink. So here also I have noted down the word meaning of the word grandeur. Grandeur means the quality of being great and impressive. So we will discuss some of the questions of the poem. How is a thing of beauty joy forever? As the first line of the poem, a thing of beauty suggests, a thing of beauty is a joy forever because it is an eternal source of joy. It enlightens our soul and moves away the pall of sadness from a dark spirit. The pleasure and happiness given by a thing of beauty never fades away. What is the legend on which a thing of beauty was written? A thing of beauty was written on the Greek legend Endymion, a poetic romance. What is the source of that endless fountain and what is its effect? All the beautiful things of nature like the sun, the moon, the daffodils, the trees, clear rills pouring upon us from the heaven's brinks are the sources of endless fountain. These beautiful sources create a sense of eternal joy and heavenly bliss. What do the clear rills make for themselves? The clear rills make for themselves a cooling covered against the hot season. What kind of sleep is provided by a thing of beauty? A thing of beauty provides a sleep full of sweet dreams. What increases continuously in a thing of beauty? The loveliness increases in a thing of beauty. What, according to Keats, never pass into nothingness? The loveliness of a beautiful thing and the joy that it gives never passes into nothingness. Thank you.